Last time on Friends Talk Financial Planning, we talked about gift giving strategies. This week, we're going to take your gift giving to the next level and talk about advanced gift giving strategies. Hi, I'm John Shear, and I run a fee only financial planning practice in Middleton, Wisconsin.
And I'm Bridget Sullivan Mermel, and I've got a fee-only financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois. John, I want to mention again why I think this is so important, and that is because I'm interested in money and meaning and happiness too. And buying gifts and giving gifts to people is where the action is from a meaning standpoint. It's really the number one way that you can spend money for more meaning. And so it's something that I've done some research and given some thought to. So that's why I think it's something that not that many other planners really talk about. So we try to get people to stop spending money, not spend it, but I'm trying to help people spend it more effectively.
That's
So
I love that idea of applying meaning to the gift giving, right? Like that's what I
right.
really got from our last discussion about this is, oh, you have to do these things, and I kind of feel obligated sometimes. And I remember you saying, well, yeah, that's part of part of being in a relationship, having a
Right.
friendship, or right? Like, no, it's part of maintenance of the relationship. That was the word I thought. Of course, all these years I'd never thought about it, so I'm excited to hear more. And as you talked about having meaning, using your money for meaning, and that's where gift giving comes in. That was like a light bulb when I just heard you say that. So tell me a little bit more about that connection between those two.
Well, like we said, the first way to give gifts and for more meaning is to give somebody something they want, because again, that's saying, I see you, I hear you. Okay. The next way, and that's meaningful to people and it feels good. You know, the next way, so this is what I want to talk about today. The second biggest way is to give somebody something that you like. So this is saying, this is me, and that is a very meaningful thing. It's like calling somebody and asking them to do something. It's a bid, like you're saying, hey, it's a bid for connection.
Yeah.
It's riskier, but it ultimately is people find it more meaningful and helps bring a relationship closer, even if the other person doesn't like it. And the gift receiver likes these gifts less than the gifts that they said they want and that they asked for. But it helps the relationship more.
Isn't that's what a dichotomy, right? It helps the relationship more, or can do that, even though the receiver doesn't perhaps appreciate it or enjoy it as much.
Mhm.
And that, I wanted to stop there because I think it was really significant. The ideas, just those two things you laid out there, Bridget. Number one, what's the number one thing that you talked about last time? Give a gift that somebody wants. Look at their list, right? We were talking before the show. My kids have been putting together their Christmas list for Santa. Like it's on the list.
Right.
And then the other thing, it's good to give a gift that I like to my friend, to my spouse, whatever. And that's just such a different, like almost the opposite view of how I've always thought of this. If you tell me here are the things I want for gifts, it seems too easy, and
Right.
I don't naturally want to do that. I think, oh, that's so dumb, right? And in fact, no, that's exactly on board. I'm hearing you. And if I
Right.
get a gift that I want to get, I think, geez, I shouldn't do that either. Like that's selfish. And no, that's sharing myself with the person. It's just so counterintuitive. This is really valuable information to think about things in a different way.
Yeah, and I'm going to get some new lights for Christmas too, by the way. Uh,
Put it on your list.
yeah, right, exactly. Well, one of my friends did put together a list of like, this is what you need. So uh, there's a risk here, though, right? And it could cause a rift,
Hmm.
right? So that's what you're risking, is the other person be like, I didn't want this. I don't want this. Rift. Okay, so how do you mitigate the rift? And
Yeah.
there's two strategies to help mitigate the rift, or the possibility of a rift. One is if you want to give it on one of these socially acceptable holidays, give multiple gifts. We talked about that last time too. The other way is to give it out of the blue. So gifts out of the blue are great, very low risk, even though you're really reducing the risk because the person compares it to getting nothing. They were expecting nothing, and so they got something.
So on my
So they're
birth
happy.
on my birthday, I'm expecting a gift, right? Because it's part of our social contract. And so
Right.
I've got, but on, the third Tuesday in October or whatever it is, right? Like I'm not expecting a gift. So it's compared to not getting anything, then there's more excitement regardless of the actual gift itself.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're comparing it to nothing. They're
Yeah.
comparing it to getting nothing. So unless it's
When,
really bad,
yeah, right. Be careful, right? Hey, Bridget.
Yeah.
So when if I give a gift that I like, how does the recipient like? How do we communicate that? And I'm just thinking of my personal experience. Is that well, I know that I've liked this, so I'm going to give it to you. But I don't always necessarily. I don't think anyway. Say, hey, here's something that I really like. Enjoy. I get it
I would
because I
say
thought,
there's
well, I know I liked
yeah.
it, so I think you might. So in that connection, there is it. It seems like
Usually there's that conversation about it.
yeah.
Or I'm thinking about this gift that one of my friends whose mom's from Sweden gave me. It's like this Swedish doll, a Christmas thing for like a mantle or something. And it's like not at all something that I would buy for myself or that is even in my realm, but it's like obviously from her, like obviously something that would mean a lot to her. So usually if you get a gift that has nothing to do with what you want, you realize it's probably something that the other person likes. And so if you want to make it more meaningful, you can tell them, this is why I bought it for you. It's something that I really like.
I think that's a really interesting thing, and I was thinking of a different twist on that. But as the gift giver, like being mindful of what that gift means, right? If it's something that I like, I'm giving to you. That's just to be aware that that's a way that I of deepening our relationship. So sharing that maybe is one thing to be pay attention to. And the other thing that I'm feeling as I'm in this conversation is that as the receiver of the gift, to be thinking about that same thing, right? Hey, this is not on my list of things, but okay, because of this conversation, I can think, oh, is this, shining a light into my friend or my whoever
Right.
the person that's giving that gift, and just to be aware of that maybe is a really important takeaway from this.
Right, right, absolutely. So another thing I wanted to talk about is money as a gift, and perhaps
Mm.
gift cards would go into this category too, because gift cards are kind of the same in that it's a defined amount. So with money gifts are great if you're an older relative and you're passing down the wealth. So, and it doesn't have to be a huge gift, but it's like I've got more money than you and I'm older and I'm in your family and I'm passing, it's just like a inheritance kind of thing. Money or gift cards as a gift doesn't work as well with peers or friends or people that are siblings, because it's like there's no maybe if it's like a gift card to go to a specific restaurant, that might work because it's like, here, you're going to try this. But although just with all that being said, I love Starbucks cards, so anybody uh,
That's always
so
on the list,
everybody's
right?
got, yeah, it's on the list, yeah. So it's just because the implication is passing it down. The other thing is that there's always with most gifts there's a reciprocity assumption. So if I give somebody something, a lot of times they feel obliged to give something back to me. And so if it's like a dollar amount, it's like, here's $20, you're going to give me $20. And so it's taking this veil of mystery away in kind of not a good way.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. So those different levels, different generations, like it's, as I'm hearing
Right.
it, the same level, that's not great, but going from older to younger sort of a feeling is
That's the way to go.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And well appreciated.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
it's interesting. One of the things we always try to do here is to circle back and say, okay, what are the takeaways from our episodes here? And I think I've said it before, but that idea of being aware of, I mean, the awareness of what these gifts mean and sort of the underlying meaning is one of my big takeaways. If I'm giving a gift and getting something that's on somebody's list shows that I heard them, not that I'm lazy in gift giving. Right. I mean, that's the
Exactly.
real feeling, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then if I don't, in the absence of that, giving something that I like is not selfish, but it's sharing part of who I am with the recipient.
Okay.
Those are the
And
two
I've
really
got,
big things. Yeah.
yeah, I've got a few more random tips for difficult
Oh,
people.
cool.
Okay. Here's 4 tips. First, replace something they recently lost.
Mm.
My husband just lost glasses, but then he found them. I don't know. Second is a homemade gift.
Okay.
Third, nostalgic or commemorative. So
What does that mean?
commemorating,
Yeah.
well, this goes back to, and we talked about it a little bit, like a picture of you together with a nice
Oh,
frame.
yeah.
Okay. The date of birth of the person from the newspaper of their choice. That's something you can buy. A puzzle that has their place of birth.
Mm.
Or, like you can get these geography puzzles that have, where they were, a map of where they were born or where they live now, that type of thing. So those are all like commemorative nostalgia. And then the last is go in with a group. Lower your risk, more
Ah,
people,
yeah.
and you can get a bigger price point too.
Yeah. Kind of like diversification in your investments, right? Spread out the
Exactly.
risk. Right.
Exactly. Spread out the risk. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
those are my main tips for today.
Yeah.
Gift giving part 2.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for sharing. I really love all the research and the thinking behind these things. I think it's really meaningful. And for our viewers, if you're interested in this sort of financial planning that's holistic and really not just about the investments, both Bridget and I are members of the Alliance of Comprehensive Planners. You can find them on the web at acplanners.org. And we have advisors all across the country that do this sort of planning for their clients. Thanks so much for sharing, Bridget. And until next time.
Yeah. Happy holidays.